Hello, and welcome to Gondor Calls for Ale, a Middle Earth strategy battle games podcast. This is episode 82, and I am your host, Sam Gallagher, and with me, once again, is my brother Ben.
Hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, if you're new here, thank you. If you're old here, thank you. If you, I don't know, are middle-aged here, thank you. Whatever, thank you. Now, after that beautifully done intro right there, I think, Ben, it's time to talk about the best thing of any Gondor Calls for Ale episode, which is, of course, the ale. So what are you drinking for this, perhaps, extra special episode?
Oh, Sam, you know it. Every episode is an extra special episode with me, and I have myself a dominant dark ale. This thick, malty beverage is said to lend its drinkers a certain heft or weight in their local community, perhaps contributing to a dominating presence around objectives.
Very good, very good.
What about you, Sam? What are you drinking for this episode?
Well, Ben, I'm having a Blue Wizard's beer, and this may surprise you, but nobody knows what's in it or where it's gone. Or going, perhaps. Oh dear.
Well, Sam, while you sip on
quite
that...
freezing.
Oh, no, you were freezing. So, while you sip on that, Sam, do you want to tell us, after you've done sipping on that even, do you want to tell us, what are we talking about this episode?
Sure. We'll see if the internet keeps up, or whether we'll be this will be a shitty episode to listen of you. In this episode, man, we are talking about the beautiful Armies of Middle Earth rulebook. All our favorite things, lots of new stuff to talk about. We're not going to go through it one at a time or anything like that. We're just going to sort of jump around, talk about some of the stuff that stood out for us, how we feel about it. Does it still have that new book smell? Oh, yes, it does. Love it. And yeah, so we're going to sort of have a chat about that. Before we get into that, I believe we have a couple of army lists submitted by our dear listeners, viewers, via our Discord server, and some beautifully painted models also submitted via our Discord server. If you would like any of your models or army lists to be featured on the podcast, use the link in the description of wherever you're listening or viewing this episode, and to join our server. And usually, a couple days before we record an episode, we put a call out for stuff that you want to show off.
Cool, awesome. All right, so we're going to dive right on into the first army list here, which is, Sam, the Fields of Celebrant. 700 points of Aeol the Young. We've got 36 models, 7 bows, and 2 throwing weapons. Led, of course, by Aeol the Young with 6 sons of Aeol. I am presuming that they're all mounted. He comes with the horse now. 1 rider of Rohan with banner, and 1 rider of Rohan with throwing spears. Next, we've got 1 King of Men from Gondor with a horse, lance, and shield, and heavy armor in his warband. There are 4 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, 4 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield and throwing spear, and 5 Citadel Guard with longbow. And finally, we've got a captain of Minas Tirith with 6 warriors with shield and 6 with spear and shield. Ooh, that looks like quite the list. Got a real hammer and anvil theme going there.
Yeah, this is quite funny because I am 99% sure that these are actually from the Legacy profiles, and we had just had the discussion before this about not including any of that, because we will talk about that at a later date.
That's hilarious. I got it mixed up. Fantastic. You're right. This is from the Legacy profiles.
Yeah. That's okay. We're not going to talk about much about what any of this stuff does in this episode, so, maybe we'll preview this one again. I think it's a cool army. I think it's a super cool theme.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And
that's why I put it in here. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think I would, if I was building this for theme, I would probably take out the Minas Tirith captain and the second Minas Tirith warband and make another Rohan one, given that this is the battle where I does Gondor come and say no? I think this is where like Aeol comes and saves Gondor's ass. And then they're like, oh, you can have Rohan. So if that's the sense, that's, I would aim for a little more Rohan themed, but I think it's super cool.
Yeah, absolutely love it. 6 Sons of Aeol, awesome. Hit like an absolute truck.
Is your dog over there, Ben? Are you
She's
petting your
nearby.
dog? No. Okay. You just look like you're shaking and so there's something going on. That's fine. Um, not a big deal. Yeah, I think it's super cool. Kind of a funny one to start with because, like we said, it's in the legacy PDFs.
Hey Sam, it wouldn't be a proper Gondor Call Trail episode if Ben didn't muck up the presentation somehow. So
There we
maybe one
go.
day I'll get it all the way right. Next one, this one is surely from the armies of Middle Earth.
It's the betrayers from the legacy PDFs, but that's fine.
Well, there we go. Do you want to read through this one, Sam?
Sure. So this is Grand Army of the South, Suladan the Serpent Lord on Armored Horse, 3 Serpent Riders, 3 Abrakan Merchant Guard, Legacy, 3 Watchers of Karna with Twin Blades, Legacy, 7 Haradrim Warriors with Spear, Amdor Lords of Blades on Armored Horse, the Betrayer on Horse with 12 Haradrim Warriors with Bow. The Betrayer is also Legacy, obviously, as said. The Taskmaster, 2 Abrakan Merchant Guard, 2 Watchers of Karna with Twin Blades, both Legacy, and 4 Haradrim Warriors with Spear. What does this army give you? You get +1 Courage or something? The army bonus for Grand Army of the South is not exciting. I do remember that.
Yeah, I don't quite remember what the army bonus for Grand Army of the South is either. Yeah, because it's sort of another one of the soup armies. You don't get a whole lot of options. I do like this one. I think the idea of Amdur and Suladan running around as your sort of armored fist is kind of fun. There's some real hitting power there.
Yeah, it's just +1 Courage basically. Yeah, it's neat. I mean, again, we'll talk about that at some other time, but I think both the Watchers and the Abrakan Merchant Guard are both very good. Suladan's, I think essentially exactly the same, except he's more expensive. The Betrayer, 150 points. How much poison? I guess you're just taking him so you get those 12 warriors re-rolling all failed wounds with their bows. Like, seems pretty good.
Pretty potent shooting force.
But that's it. Yeah, it's just that's it for. I guess the Serpent Riders have poison. And you're only taking. I just look at this and I wonder, like, would the Serpent Horde? You lose Amdor basically if you took this as the Serpent Horde. And maybe you lose the Merchant Guard and the Watchers of Karna. I can't remember if they're actually in that list or not. Yeah, pretty cool. Nice to see some, nice that both through the book we're actually going to talk about and the legacy profiles, that the Haradrim are a much fuller army list again. It's not just captains and warriors and Mumakil. So
yeah, that is one of my favorite things, Sam. So onwards into some hobby projects, Sam. Little hobby highlight from our community. There's no way that I can muck this up. This can't be legacy or not legacy. This is just cool stuff that we've got here. So first of all, we've got this awesome converted Hill Tribes chieftain.
Yeah.
Who I really like. I really like the skull, and I really like the yellow color scheme that was chosen for the Hill Tribes here.
Yeah, very cool.
And of course, he wouldn't be complete without some matching Hill Tribesmen who also have the yellow, which I think looked really good with the flaming brands.
Yeah,
red hair on the guy. Some of the guys, I really like the color scheme.
Yeah, no, awesome, very cool.
And then we got some terrain. So we previewed this a little while ago. We showed this terrain unpainted, and I talked about how excited I was to see it finished. And here it is, all finished up. Some sweet ruins of Dol Guldur made out of blue foam, and they came out fantastically.
Yeah, blue foam, and I think worth mentioning the slice and slot from
that's right.
Microforge. I think various Kickstarters. I think this was sort of to show off some of the stuff you can do with it, and it is super cool.
The reason I didn't mention it, Sam, is because I couldn't remember what it was called, and I knew I could trust you to remember for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, these are super awesome. I love the like metal crenellation parts that are on those. Like, it looks like the kind of thing you could very easily use that to make some cool like black gate. Maybe not the whole gate, but you could It's got that
Yeah,
same
the sort of
vibe.
the fields of Morannon.
Yeah.
I also really like the snow. I think it can be very easy to get really dark terrain when you're doing sort of evil terrain boards, and
Hmm.
I think the snow can be nice on some of those to sort of make it a bit brighter. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And a little product placement in the background. Yes, we are officially sponsored by Apple.
Oh
Not really,
shit! I
we're
didn't
not
even
at
notice that.
all.
That's
But
hilarious.
no, it's
All
super,
right,
super
Sam.
awesome.
That's it for my sweet presentation for this week.
All right. Well, Ben, while I joke about official sponsors, I think it's the perfect segue to talk about the official sponsor of Gondor Calls for Ale, as noted on that beautiful slide right there, which is, of course, the Baron of Dice. The producer, Ben, of premium wargaming dice. They're beautiful, they're hand swirled resin, they've got no micro bubbles, and they've got the Gondor Calls for Ale guarantee to roll sixes at least some of the time. There's also a wide range of Middle Earth themed dice that you can purchase for yourself. You can do that by following the link in the description of wherever you're listening or viewing this podcast. Also, in said description, there will be a discount code, which is capital G, capital C, capital A, and that will give you a nice discount on any order, be it Middle Earth or any other genre you choose to make with the Baron of Dice. So, check them out. Helps us out, helps him out, and get yourself some good dice.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Sam. They are indeed some fantastic dice. And if you want to see them in action, Sam and I have been rolling them in some battle reports, which we are slowly releasing. So if you haven't seen them on our YouTube channel, please do go ahead and check those out. They are definitely worth a view. There's at least one available. Actually, I believe at the time of releasing this episode, there will be a new one available. So if you
Yep.
if you've seen the first one but didn't get the second one, go ahead and check it out.
Yeah. I guess while we're continuing on with our little plug, if you
quite a
want
way.
some custom-made Baron of Dice, you can join our Patreon, where depending on the tier, you will get a set of Gondor Calls for Ale dice after a determined length of subscription. They're pretty cool. We have two sets. We've got a good and an evil set. So please consider checking out our Patreon. That is definitely what enables us to keep doing this stuff for you guys. Whew, all right, now we've got all that boring part, the most skipped part of the episode, we assume, done. Ben, let's talk about the armies of Middle Earth. And before we do, I have one question for you, Ben, and that is, do you know where Sauron keeps his armies?
I have a little guess, Sam, but tell me, Sam, where does Sauron keep his
Up
armies?
his sleeves. Up his sleeves. Definitely the internet fucked that up for us. That would have been much funny if it hadn't cut you out and then I had to say it twice.
So good. So good.
There we go. All right, Ben. Well, why don't you take it away and give me what is one of your favorite things out of this awesome new book?
Well, I'm going to claim it as one of my favorite things. It's on my beer. You pointed it out to me, Sam, so I'll give you a little credit there. Fatty Bulger is dominant 2,
Yeah.
which is just hysterical. He's
It's
a plus
awesome.
size hobbit, and he eats for 2, and he counts for 2 near an objective, and that just tickles me to no end. I think that's a fantastic addition to the profiles.
It is awesome. And then we went back and looked, and turns out, mostly, sadly, there are two true missed opportunities. But mostly, if you're fat in Middle Earth, you get dominant 2. So Fatty Bulger gets dominant 2, as does Bomber, which is awesome.
So good.
The biggest miss, it's a real shame, is that Furlong the Fat doesn't get, but it's because his is an ironic name. Clearly, he's actually very skinny. He's just got big, heavy armor, and so he's not actually fat. So, but it would be hilarious if Furlong the Fat had dominant 2. I should put an FAQ in there, but like, shouldn't Furlong have dominant 2?
Furlong the Fat
And then the
shouldn't have-
Abrakan
shouldn't have
Merchant
dominant.
Guard.
Yeah.
And then the Abrakan Merchant Guard could have also had it, but that's in a different PDF. So yeah, no, I think that's funny. Not much that we can really talk about your favorite thing, Ben. So
No, but go on. Do you want to name a favorite thing? It's just so good. It's just 10 out of 10. Well done, Games Workshop.
yeah. I think one of the profiles that stood out to me as being really cool now, and certainly got an awesome glow up with the update, is Amder. he was heavily played before the Dragon Emperor came out, and then basically once the Dragon Emperor and the new Easterling stuff came out, nobody played him. He wasn't in that Legendary Legion, and he just like objectively wasn't very good in comparison. Like you really weren't gonna play him, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember how much he was before, but he's going to have increased in points because everything has. But for 135 points, plus 25 for the armored horse, so 160 total. But he's move 6, fight 7, which is awesome.
Ooh.
So that's an increase. Shoot 4 plus doesn't matter. Strength 4, defense 6, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, courage and intelligence both 5 plus. He's kept his 3 might, 3 will, and 1 fate. He's got heavy armor and Duritzer, the Silver Falchion, however you pronounce that. It's a unique elven hand and a half weapon. Additionally, when making strikes against an enemy hero, the roll of a natural 5 will always wound the target, regardless of the hero's defense. That's awesome. A little mini Azog ability, plus being, a Fight 7 hero with an elven blade is fantastic. His heroic actions are challenge and strike. He's got General Hunter, which is super cool. He, not quite as cool as Blood and Glory was, but given that Blood and Glory isn't a rule anymore, I would have been kind of fine if he'd kept that as his own like special rule. But an unyielding combat stance, so harder potentially to knock him down. Phalanx, Gleaming Horde, so all of that stuff. He's got the Herald of Victory. Eastling models treat him as a banner. If he slays the enemy general, he becomes a 6-inch banner. Definitely awesome. And then he's got Lord of Blades. Whenever an enemy hero model is engaged in combat with Amdor, declares a strike, Amdor may declare a heroic strike for free. If Amdor has already declared a heroic action during that phase, he may change his declared action to heroic strike, though any might spent will be lost. So, you feel a little safer burning through your might for combats earlier on, and you're still kind of strike resistant, because even, any Fight 7 hero that has an Elven Blade, it just is back to a 50-50, or if you don't have the Elven Blade, you kind of want to strike against them. I think Amdor's super cool now, and is actually probably him and a bunch of Dragon Knights, and the only reason I see not to play him is I don't think he's in a list where you can take the little drakes, which is a shame because they're super cool models.
They are super cool. Yeah, I think Easterlings are really exciting with the addition of this new book.
Oh, I tell a lie. The War Drake can be included in.
Ooh, saucy. Which is what force is that called?
It's the Easterlings. So you get Amdor, Captain, Cataphracts Captain, War Priest, Dragon Knight, Eastling Warriors, Eastling Cataphracts, Black Dragons, Dragon Cult Acolytes, and the War Drake of Rune. So you get everything except the other 3 special characters. You get you must always have Amdor. He's always the general. +1 bonus to courage once the army is broken. You can basically get the old Eastling special army bonus where it's +1 courage if you're broken. You get to reroll to see if the game ends. Whilst the army is broken, friendly Eastling heroes gain Fearless. That's super good. Friendly models gain the Ancient Enemies Gondor special rule. So,
that's fun. I bet that'll come up fairly often because Gondor's a fairly popular good force. I expect there's a reasonable amount of warriors of Middle Earth running around in different army lists.
Yeah, so I think Amdor's super cool. Easterlings are super cool. That is certainly the army I would play for them. Do you have another favorite thing?
I mean, they came out and didn't really change, but Army of Khandoum I think is super cool. They had a PDF because the Rise of Angmar supplement was so short-lived, and they're essentially, I believe they're exactly the same, but I think it's a super cool army, and I think it might be one that I give a go at in the future. It's got a lot of moving pieces, but +1 fight when your warriors charge, including the hill trolls, is super cool. Actually, the heroes, I think the hero outright gets a free heroic combat if he's killed a model the previous turn. So I just sort of like the snowball of the stat, like sort of things you can add on. I think Army of Khandoum is super cool.
Yeah, the one thing I wish there had been, it would have been the opportunity to change, is to give the Vassal of the Witch King away to get Will back so he could use those special rules more often.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely agree with that.
But it was not to be. Still cool, though.
Yeah. Very cool. And, Arnor sort of the same. I don't know that it's an army that I'm particularly excited to play, but I know certain people definitely very into it. You started working on an Arnor force, and it's a pretty cool army.
Yeah, yeah.
And notably, Sam, Gulliver, still movement 6.
Fuck yes. Vindication, Ben. Vindication. If Gothmark's only 2 attacks, Gulliver's only movement 6. Unfortunately, both of those things are evil models, so that's a bit of a downside. But
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna take it away with another one of my things I really enjoyed in this, which is the Army of the Great Eye, the army special, which is essentially a soup army, which is a bit of a shame. But the army special rule, like its special rules are phenomenal. So you get the Great Eye at the beginning of the game. Place a 25 mm Great Eye marker on the battlefield in your deployment zone. At the end of each move phase, remove the Great Eye marker and roll a d6. On a 2+, you may place it anywhere within 6 of where it was. On a 1, Sauron has been distracted, and your opponent may place it anywhere within 12 inches of where it was. The Great Eye marker can never be placed so that it overlaps another model's base, though models may finish their move overlapping the Great Eye marker. Friendly models treat the Great Eye marker as a banner. Enemy models within 3 inches suffer -1 to courage and intelligence tests they're required to make. If your opponent's army contains a ring bearer, with the exception of Sauron, then during the end phase of a turn they are wearing the ring and within 3 inches of the Great Eye marker, they must roll a dice, and on the 3+, they succumb to Sauron and are immediately removed as a casualty.
Oh, that's so good.
It's
The
awesome.
last bit. That's a really fun one. I really do like that rule, the idea of having this little marker that follows you around. And I particularly like the -1 to intelligence tests, because the intelligence tests coming up, they're more and more relevant for lots of different things. You know, so it's kind
Yeah.
of cool. It's not just Harbinger of Evil with a little 3-inch bubble, it's also Harbinger of Brain Fog. I don't know.
Yeah, I think well, it will be interesting to play. If you roll a 1, you get to move it 12 inches. Feels potentially like it could be bad, or because it's just then you're like, well, now it's 2 turns before I have a relevant banner again or whatever,
Mm,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but it's a shame Lord of the Rings doesn't include a scatter dice, because then you could have it scatter in a random direction, which would be awesome. But yeah, absolutely love it. I think it's a super fun, flavorful rule, and that's one of the things I really like about all of the army lists.
Yeah,
Or the way they've been doing the army list now is not only do you get a bunch of special rules that are good, but a lot of them are really flavorful.
yeah. I love the idea of Sauron getting distracted. Like, hey, over here.
Yeah, I mean exactly. That's exactly what Aragorn and the Men of the
Yeah.
West did.
Right, right. Fantastic. Hilarious. Very, very funny. The Wozes, Sam. I wanted to talk about the Wozes. I think Paths of the Druidan is pretty cool. Maybe I'll be playing it again. Well, again, Sam still thinking instead of whatever I play, maybe I'll give it a go for real this time. That's what I'm saying. Ganburi Gan has basically, I think he's the same points cost. He's maybe 5 points more. And he's got a whole heap of special rules: Stalk Unseen and Woodland Creature being the notable ones, as well as poisoned attacks and hatred against orcs and goblins and similar. But I think my favorite one is Forest Stalker, which is that friendly Druidan models within 6 inches of Garn that are also in a piece of woodland terrain, if they suffer a wound, they just get a 6-up, feel no pain. So it's probably pretty trash. It'll, definitely doesn't make them game breaking. But I think it's cool because when you take them, you have to have him, and I think it's 12 Wozes now. So eventually, someone's going to get into combat with your Wozes, and they're going to start dying. So you've got 12 Wozes, and maybe that counts for 14 bodies on the field if they get to be in some woods near Ghana. I don't know. I think it's another fun little flavorful rule. We're talking about fun little flavorful rules.
Well, I was looking ahead, but I had a plan of what I was going to say next. One of the things I really like, I wish they'd got an updated model, but I really like the Black Numenorian rule they got. So they essentially stayed the same, right? So they're move 6, fight 4, shoot 4+, doesn't matter. Strength 3, defense 6, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 6+, intelligence 7+. So they're actually pretty brainiacs for evil models. I'm currently reading the Knight, but they're heavy armor, shield, and hand weapon. The Knights come with a lance and armored horse. For the knights, you can exchange the lance for a banner for 25, or exchange the lance for a warhorn for 25. So you can still have your Black Numenorian banner. He just has to be on a horse, so a little more expensive. And they have terror. But one of the things I really like is the visage of terror, of terror. If an enemy model attempts to charge this model and fails its courage test as the result of the terror special rule, then the activation will immediately end rather than them just not being able to move that turn. Models affected by this special rule cannot shoot in the shoot phase and cannot move in the fight phase if part of a successful heroic combat, but other ways act normally for the purposes of the phase. It doesn't do much, but it is pretty cool. It's a cool little, like, yeah, you're not doing any, like, we're extra scary, you know, and combine that with, like, the mouth of Sauron's harboring of evil that he now has, and his, like, you don't get to reroll ones thing. Like, you just kind of have a neat army that's, like, if you're doing good versus evil, probably won't ever come up because good all has, like, insanely high courage, but you know, something a little different. I think it's cool.
Right, and you know, even with insanely high courage, sometimes you fail a key courage 5 elf will fail a courage test, and you know, either run or stay still when they could have moved and block up movement, and even just the threat of failing a courage test is sometimes enough. With me, I'd be like, I just cannot afford to have these warriors fail that courage test. They're just going to go stand over here and get out of a clear line of fight for this hero, you know.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. So I think it's a fantastic addition to once again to Gondor. The Avenger Bolt Thrower is back. I was convinced it was going to Legacy for some reason. It wasn't on the Legacy list. I don't know why I was convinced of this, but it's back. It's the same as it ever was. It's a few more points than before, but I think it is a fantastic addition to a lot of the Minas Tirith forces. I'm pretty excited to try it in atop the wall.
It's not the same. It's
not the same?
No, it's got 36-inch range now.
Oh, damn, it does. Yeah.
Yeah,
36-inch range. Look at that. I missed that. Strength 7, defense 9, 3 wounds. Very nice there. Still comes with 3 siege crew, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
You know, and it's obviously a heavy object, so it's got to be carried around. The siege crew are warriors of Minas Tirith, and the rapid fire is the same. I think I'm maybe in the camp of swift reload over 2 of them, whereas last edition I was just take 2. Definitely maybe seeing me putting one of these on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, they're so good. I still think 2 is better because on average you'll get 7 shots versus whatever D6 with a reroll is.
Sure, yeah. It's just, what are they, 60 points, 80 points? 60 points a pop, so, you know, 120 points is a big commitment.
Sure. I mean, it's 40. If that is that actually the points cost?
60 points each, yeah.
So, it's 40 points more than having one with swift reload.
Yeah, I guess, and then you get a point of might and 3 warriors, so it's really only you're really only dropping 2 warriors out of your army list.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think there's an argument for either one. I certainly would rather play against one with swift reload than 2 because it's a lot easier to hide from one than it is 2, and you know, anyway, but yeah, they're super good, and they are back with a vengeance, I think.
A vengeance, if you like.
Yes, exactly. That was the joke. So one of the things that a lot of people complained about, I think, were the fiefdoms. I actually really like the way the army is now. The profiles are much over muchness. I think they're all functionally the same. But the special rule I really like is the leaders of the fiefdom. If a friendly hero charges into combat, then during the fight phase, friendly infantry models within 6 of that hero that share the same faction keywords as the hero gain an additional +1 to wound when making strikes. Like, it's not all of them. So obviously you're not going to get knights around Imrahil on a horse with +2 to wound, which is probably reasonable. But it does actually mean that if Imrahil charges on a horse and you have knights on foot, that they get that +1, which is cool. But, you know, it encourages you to take them, you know, like, I'm going to take Angbor, and I'm going to take some clansmen, and I'm going to take Furlong the Fat, and I'm going to take some axemen. So I think it's super cool. I also think it's potentially pretty devastating. you charge, you're mostly like decent fight. If you win the fight, you're gonna
You got
you're
good
gonna be
banner
killing.
coverage too.
Yeah, especially with clansmen, then you are at +2 to win, or +2 to wound. So
Yeah,
you've
yeah. I
less
think it's a pretty exciting army. I think it's pretty cool.
you've less
Um,
good banner coverage because Imrahil only affects Gondor or Dol Amroth, whichever way it goes model. So he doesn't affect the Axe or the clansman with his banner.
that's true. That's true. Um, yeah. Interesting. No horse for Forlong, which is a shame for everyone that converted one. But say Sailor B. Didn't they used to have a horse model at one point? No, there was never. There was
No,
just
there was
never was a horse model.
an unreleased minis horse model that like everyone used and like nobody.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of.
But yeah, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's more of a shame is to lose all your captains on horses. The ability I like Furlong the Fat on a horse, like I guess
Yeah.
there's part of me that's very glad that the fiefdom's armies have changed because it was just always the same army and it was pretty oppressive. It had a massive banner. And it's sort of like obviously that was going away because they took all the other 12-inch banners out of the game, and
Which I think is a good choice. 12 inches banner
Yeah.
was just too much.
and it gives you the ability to, or it feels like more freeing when you're like I can run Imrahil and a group of knights off on the flank. He doesn't have to be like central to the battle line of my wiggly pike wall.
Right. Right. All right, Sam. I'm going to bring him up. I'm surprised you haven't already. Tom Bombadil.
Oh yes, old Tom Bombadillo. He's awesome.
Tom Bombadillo. In many ways, Sam, he has not changed. His stats are still all unknown. He has movement 6 and question marks for the rest of his stats. An unknown amount of might and fate and 12 will. He treats all the board as open ground, which I think is hilarious.
He's the master, man.
He is the master. He passes, swim, jump, climb. He rolls a 6 for all of them. Cannot be targeted by abilities, special rules, magical powers, brutal power attacks, or shooting attacks. It's, pretty much the same. He's untargetable. Tom automatically resists magical powers, even if they would target multiple models. If Tom is hit by a missile, treat the failed result. Anyway, you can't target him. I think they did a good job, but the thing that they've changed is the sort of 1-inch exclusion bubble has sort of changed from what it was before.
He doesn't have a control zone, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have a control zone now, so you can now walk within 1 inch of Tom, which is nice. And he cannot pick up objectives, which he couldn't before, but nice that that's still maintained. And then I think the best bit, Sam, are his songs. Tom now gets to sing a jolly song, in fact. At any point during his activation, Tom may spend a will point to sing one of the songs listed below to gain the relevant effect. Tom may sing any number of these songs during his activation and may sing each of these songs as many times as he wishes during his activation, unless otherwise stated. Every time Tom sings a song, it will cost him a point of will. Tom could just blow all of his will in a single turn, I guess.
That's true.
Like, I'm done! Hey ho, merry doll, derry doll, my darlings! Choose a friendly model within 6 inches of Tom Bombadil. The chosen model immediately regains a single wound lost earlier in the battle. A model may only regain a single wound once per turn. Hop along, my hearties, until the end of the turn. Friendly models.
Ponies all, we are fond of parties.
Until the end of the turn, friendly models that begin their activation within 6 inches of Tom Bombadil may add 3 inches to their move value. And treat all areas of difficult terrain as open ground. That's fantastic. Wake now, my merry lads. You know the next one there, Sam? No.
No, I don't. I think that might be like a singular line one.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or the end of that, but...
Choose a friendly model within 6 inches of Tom Bombadil. The chosen model immediately recovers from the effect of any magical powers currently cast upon them. Additionally, until the end of the turn, the chosen model cannot be chosen as the target of enemy magical powers or special rules. Ring a dong, dillo. Until the end of the turn, friendly models within 6 inches of Tom Bombadil automatically pass any courage test they are required to take. And get out, you old white.
Banish in the sunlight. Shrivel. Oh, so good. I fucking love Tom Bombadil.
Choose an enemy spirit model within 6 inches of Tom Bombadil. The chosen model immediately suffers a wound. This song may only be sung once per turn.
Which is good, because otherwise you'd be like, I see your 3 Fate Witch King. How about 4 wounds? You die!
Yeah, hilarious. And then, of course, Tom has a house to mind. If Tom Bombadil must give up a will point during the end of each turn in which he was engaged in combat, should Tom ever be reduced to 0 will points, or if there are no friendly models on the board other than himself or Goldberry, he will simply wander off back to his homestead, remove Tom as a casualty, which is the same as before. I think he's fantastic. Highly amusing.
Important to note that you, even though he has no control zone, you still can't come in base contact with him unless his controller player lets you. And I believe his side still automatically wins combats, but nobody can strike blows if Tom's involved.
Yeah. What is the? I'm trying to find
it.
What
that's all the same.
That you can take him in.
He's on the road to Rivendell, and that's it.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's it's actually kind of a cool. It's kind of a coolly updated list. I think it's probably one that's a little more interesting with legacies, because then you can add in what's his name, Gildor.
Sure. I don't know.
Actually,
Having Aspaloth go 15 inches and charge would be hilarious. Surely you can have Arwen on Aspaloth and do Tom sing his increased movement speed one.
Yeah. I'm just wondering. I thought you could have Glorfindel.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be even more amusing.
But you get Aragorn. So you get Aragorn, Arwen, Frodo, Gildor in Legacies, Samwise, Barleyman Butlerbear, Bill the Pony, Gatekeeper of Bree, Goldberry, Meriadoc, Peregrine Toot, and Tom Bombadil.
No Farmer Maggot. That's interesting.
Yeah. But the reason that it's nice to be able to have Gildor is I think you get Noldorian exiles with him.
So you can actually have some reasonable troops.
Yeah, but I might actually be wrong on that. Doesn't look like it. But yeah, Tom Bombadil, Goldberry, both awesome. I love the way it's so much cooler than having the refreshing song. While a very good magic power, this is way more interesting, I think.
Oh, so much more interesting.
What else, Ben? Anything else that I mean, a big win for me is the Army of Khazad-dûm and Dwarves.
Oh, if you weren't going to bring that up, I was going to say how we not talked about Khazad-dûm.
Yeah. Well, we did. There is I don't know if it'll be out yet, but I did record an entire half pint of my initial reaction reading through that army list. So if you want more of that, then definitely check out our Patreon. But they've had such a glow up. It's such a cool army list now. Durin, I think, is basically the same, but Khazad being Fight 5 is really huge. They're also elite, which means you can't just have your entire army as them, which I actually like. I think that's cool. Yep. The one thing that is kind of a shame, or kind of a bit weird, is that the Vault Warden teams no longer can be affected by monstrous power attacks.
That's a shame.
Which it's fine, but it's just kind of that was their whole thing, right? I mean, that and the fact that the one dude was defense 9 is definitely still good. But you're well, I can't just snowball a monster, which there are going to be more of now, because you can just rend me and I'm only strength 4. But the Dwarven Mirrors, everyone getting Dominant 2. I think it's a really, really cool army list. I think it's also probably quite good.
Yeah. I'm trying to find him now. Where did he go? Baragon, Sam. I think Baragon got
Oh yeah.
a really good and much justified, even if he's got a terrible model, a much justified glow up. Um, he is now a captain level hero worth 65 points. He's movement 6, fight 5, shoot 3 plus, which he does have a longbow, so that's pretty cool. Strength 4, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6, intelligence 5 plus, and 2 will, 2 might, and 2 fate. Heavy armor, hand weapon, and longbow with access to heroic accuracy, which is kind of cool. And an unlikely friendship. Whilst within 3 inches of a friendly Pippin, Baragon may re-roll any failed to wound rolls when making strikes. So that's pretty nice.
I wish that didn't count if Pippin was mounted.
Yeah.
But
Shadow Pact with Gandalf, fair enough.
But it's still really cool. And awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It feels he's a much bigger character in the books than he was ever represented on the tabletop. Like basically before you were like, yay, I'll pay 25 points to have another 6 warband slots was essentially what you were doing. You were like, it was similar with Denethor, right? Where you're like, I'm taking him because he's cheap and lets me take more warrior models. So I like that he's like an actual hero now.
He was kind of cool in the previous edition if you put him on a horse as like a backfield objective grabber because he was bodyguard and had 1 might, 1 will, 1 fate. So,
yeah.
But
Yeah,
for the same points cost, it was almost like, well, just get 3 Citadel Guard or whatever.
Right. I think he's now sort of more representative.
Oh, he's so much cooler now.
As a character.
So cool.
Another profile I really like, and addition they had is Durbers, the Goblin King of Moria. 75 points, move 5, fight 4. That part's a little tough for poor Durbers. Shoot 5 plus, which doesn't matter. Strength 4, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds. Courage 6 plus, intelligence 6 plus. He's got 3 might, 2 will, 2 fate. He's got defense, resolve, and strike. The strike's hilarious on a fight 4 model. You're just like, ugh. Probably better just to call a resolve and hope the enemy whiff. He's got cave dwellers, whatever. He's got Iron Fist. Durbus has a standfast of 12 rather than 6. That's cool in a Moria Goblin army. And then the thing that I really like about him is he's got the Callous Leadership special rule. This is an active ability. Once per game at the start of any fight phase before declaring heroic action step, Durbers may declare he's using this ability. Until the end of the phase, friendly Moria goblins within 6 inches of Durbers gain +1 to wound when making strikes. However, when friendly goblin models within 6 inches that lose a dual roll, not including supporting models, must roll a d6 after any strikes have been made against them. And on a 1, the model suffers a wound. I like that he's like whipping his allies into a frenzy. And then I think while we're talking about him, worth just bringing up the army of Moria, which is pretty cool. You get Durbers, you get dragons, you get Durzag the Beast Caller, you get Moria Goblin Captains, Moria Goblin Shamans, Cave Drakes, the Watchers in the Water, which is a bummer because less Watchers is always better in my opinion. You get Moria Goblin Warriors, you get Moria Goblin Prowlers, you get a Drum, Cave Troll, Bat Swarm, Mirkwood Hunting Spiders, and Fell Wargs.
It's cool you get the hunting spiders in there. Those things are fun.
Yeah. Beast models may only be included in Durzag's Warband, which is a little bit weird because the Cave Drake's a minor hero and is also a beast, but so he can be optionally included in the Warband. I guess that means he could only be included in Durbers' Warband or taken. No, he's a minor hero.
Yeah, he's
so
a
he
minor
can't
hero.
be included in the Warband. It's irrelevant. I just saw somebody doing a preemptive FAQ on that, and I was like, what? Okay. And then the army special rules are we cannot get out. Friendly Moria Goblins engaged in combat with an enemy model that would be considered trapped get +1 to their fight value for the duration of the fight.
That's such a good name for the special rule. Why was it not called that before?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a different special rule because before they just got backstabbers, right?
Yeah. But anyway, backstabbers, smack stabbers. They cannot get out. So much better.
Then we've got Skittering Warriors, Moria Goblins gain Mountain Dweller special rule. That's kind of cool. And then we've got Durbers' Will. Once per game at the start of the activation phase, Durbers may declare he's using this ability. If he does, Durbers may not move during this activation. However, all friendly Moria Goblin models get a +2 bonus to their move until the end phase of that turn. Additionally, in the turn in which Durbers uses this ability, all friendly Moria Goblins within 6 inches of him automatically pass courage tests they're required to make in an attempt to charge models with terror Yeah, super cool. I think it's a neat army. I think it's a more interesting way of playing that army than the Balrog, and a little less or a little more in line with like a fair army. You don't have like an unkillable creature that's dominant 10 and the battlefield wide banner and all of this other BS from the depths of Moria. So this
Yeah.
must be surface level Moria.
So I've talked about a few profiles, Sam. I wanted to talk about an army list that I think is somewhat unchanged, but I think I like it quite a lot this edition, and that is the Fords of the Eisen, formerly
Mm.
Theodred's Guard. It's one of those army lists that does still feel a little bit small. You've only got access to Theodred, Elfhelm, and then Rohan captains. For your warriors, you've got Rohan warriors, Riders of Rohan, and Royal Guard, which are all the warrior profiles of Rohan. Um, the special rules are protect the prince. All friendly models get Swarm Protector Theodred, which is very nice. It's your fearless army. Sam and I have talked about how good that is more than one occasion. And then this is my favorite one. I think the Resolute Rohirrim. If your army is broken, friendly models gain the Dominant 2 special rule. I just think it's really cool. Like, okay, you've finally worn down your opponent, and then all of a sudden they all count for double near the objectives. You could do some fun things with Reconnoiter with this, where you could have your cavalry near the board edge, and then wait until you break. And now all of your cavalry models count for 2 models, and they can ride off the board. Sort of wacky stuff like that. And then this is my other sort of favorite rule: the Courage of Elfhelm. If Theodred is engaged in combat whilst within 6 inches of Elfhelm, then enemy models may not make strikes against Theodred if there is another model that they could make strikes against instead. So probably an edge case isn't going to come up very often because mostly Theodred's fighting on his own. But it does mean that if you get Theodred and another model into a big hero, the big hero cannot make strikes against Theodred until the warrior model is removed. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it is super cool. Um, one of the things that I immediately noticed when I opened this book that I think is worth talking about, um, is the like title pages for each of the factions
Ooh.
are so cool. Like I'm looking at
Yeah,
the
they
Fallen
are.
Realms one, and like they're all like these. If you haven't had a chance to look, they're all like a collection. Like the Isengard one, you've got a banner with an Isengard shield with the white hand on the front and with an array of weapons and stuff behind it. It's really it looks really good. And I didn't remember them being in the other book, and I just had a quick look at my digital copy, and what they have is like a dark page with the like writing, the like ring logo they have, and then inside there's a picture. So like Isengard, there's a picture of Saruman like holding the Palantir, and that's cool. But I really like the artistic rendering graphics on those pages. And one of the other things that is like awesome in this book that they didn't include in the other ones, and I'm assuming it's because the other ones they have like screen grabs or like pictures from the movies that they include, but there's a lot more art in this book. Like I'm looking at the Isengard Orc Shaman, Ben, which if I don't know if you have your book in front of you, it's page 108. It's such a sick piece of art at the bottom of his page. And there's a bunch of them. I was looking at the Haradrim Warriors have got a really nice bit of art under them. It's all that sort of like sepia tone stuff. There's a lot of really cool.
That's like some old school. I've got my digital copy on my phone for the Isengard Shaman.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the like an old school Orc and Goblins Warhammer Fantasy
Yeah,
artwork when the book spine was still green. Some of the artwork style. That's super cool.
yeah. There's like a fair amount of it, and I'm sure some of it has been in White Dwarf and other source books before there were as much stuff. But it's just really, I really like that they took the time to like, what are we gonna put on these title pages? What are we going to include in the book? And for all of the issues that these books often have, like there are a fair number of typos and things that have been missed. It's really cool to see some of that stuff, and I want more of that. There's a really cool picture on page 58 of Mirkwood elves fighting spiders, and I think that's part of the thing. You said that reminded me when you said like old school Warhammer Fantasy art stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's very similar to a lot of the old world books where they have that style of drawing in them, and I think they've just done a really nice job, man. And like if you even looking at and this may be true for the other books as well. But like, if you look at the borders of the section that's like the good armies, they're sort of like elven knotwork looking, and then if you flip to the evil, they're like chains.
Yeah, I saw that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Did you see? I just noticed. I was looking at the page for the Isengard Orc Shaman. He has enraged beasts, and I was like, "Huh, what beasts are in Isengard? I guess wargs. Crebain. You can enrage a Crebain,
That's funny.
which would actually potentially be quite dangerous."
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what enraged beast does nowadays.
I don't know either, but I can imagine that at least an enraged Crebain could at least be. I assume they have the keyword beast.
They may have swarm,
Okay, in which case,
but probably both. I'm just looking at bat swarm as bat, or is swarm and beast. Yeah. That's one of the things worth mentioning. We've talked about a lot of this stuff that we really like, and having been accused of being GW fanboys, I haven't got Orc Shaman. The other thing, talking about the shamans, and then I'll get back to that point. The Uruk-hai Shaman has enchanted blade or blade wrath, which is pretty cool. But there are some stuff that you look at and you're just like, man, was that like, did somebody like give me a digital copy of the book and I'll read every profile for you and tell you like that doesn't make sense. Like Durzag has enraged beast with a range of self. Very clearly that's wrong, and they will catch it and get fixed. But you're just like, it's a $60 book, man. Like, it would be super cool if you caught those kind of things. And like one of the other ones I noticed, and this is again, it's like much over muchness, but it's slightly disappointing in the looking at the ruffians, right? So Sharky. So Sharky has hatred hobbits. That was what it was. And there's Sharky's Wrath special rule in the Ruffian army list. Sharky gains hatred hobbits. So he already has it. And like that's fine. It's like it doesn't matter. You get the rule either way. It's a mistake. That's fine. The thing that's like kind of a shame about it is you're like, but like could that could have been another special rule in the army. So you like look at it's the same with the old Lurtz profile. You looked at his heroic actions, and because heroic actions had a bullet point, it looked like he had so many, and he actually had one less.
That was such a funny one.
Yeah. So certainly there are some mistakes, which is bound to happen, but none of them are egregious. None of them make the game like unplayable. Or none of them are like, well, I can't use a cave drake because he can't be included. He's a beast, and therefore can he be included? It's like, no, he's a hero anyway. So there's nothing that's a serious problem. I think it's an awesome book overall.
Yeah, absolutely, very cool. Excited to get my paws on my real copy. I didn't manage to grab mine when I was down there recently.
Oh right, of course, yeah. So is there anything else you want to point out, highlight? About the new book, Ben, or are you?
No. I mean, I could keep banging on about it, but I think those are my big highlights. I think I've touched on.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's certainly plenty of other stuff that I'm sure I'll be editing this and be like, I should have brought up this, or I should have brought up that. The Corsairs. I think Delgamar still having his like. He's one of the heroes that kept 3 might. That's at that sort of captain level that most of them lost
Right.
it. And
That's cool.
He can be a banner that causes wounds if they lose the fight, if they use the reroll and lose. Like there's a lot of that stuff that I think is really really cool. And I am excited to play some more stuff out. And it just feels like the game is a little more complete now. So yeah, I think that's kind of it as far as I feel the need to talk about in this episode. If there's anything you would like to add, Ben?
No, I think that's pretty good coverage so far.
Yeah, well, great. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. As Ben said in the beginning, we're releasing battle reports. There are 2 out now. There'll be another one out in a week's time. Definitely give those a watch. Let us know what you think. Let us know what some of your favorite parts of the new Armies of Middle Earth are, or stuff that you're disappointed about. If you tell me something you're disappointed about, and I have a strong feeling the other way, you'll probably hear that. So do that at your own risk. Otherwise, thank you again for listening, and we will be back in 2 short weeks. Thank you for listening to Gondor Calls for Ale. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. We at Gondor Calls for Ale are officially sponsored by the Baron of Dice, the producer of premium wargaming dice. These beautifully hand-swirled resin dice have no micro bubbles and are therefore perfectly balanced. With over 3,000 variants and unique designs, nearly every tabletop gaming system is represented. So check out the description of this episode for a link and a discount code. Go buy yourself some new dice and let the good times roll. We at Gondor Calls for Ale are not associated with Games Workshop, New Line Cinema, or the Tolkien Estate. We hope we have not misrepresented or offended anyone. These recordings are strictly recollections of games we've played and are not commentaries on the character or competence of our opponents. They are intended purely for entertainment, and we hope they will be taken as such. You can find us on Patreon, see the link in the description. Supporting Gondor Calls for Ale there helps us continue to produce these episodes. You can find us on Instagram at Gondor_calls_for_ale. Feel free to send us a message there. Or on Facebook as Gondor Calls for Ale, another great place to send us a message. Or you can send us an email at gondorcallsforale@gmail.com. As Boromir, Captain of the White Tower, once said, remember today, listener, today this episode was good.